Hey guys, Stephanie B here, aka Umi. I am the founder and creator of Black Women Homemake. So I wanted to take a moment and really share what Black Women Homemake is all about, who is invited into this beautiful space, why it was even created. Maybe I'll chop this video up into different segments and different parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, just to kind of make it easier for you guys, or maybe I'll just leave it as is and allow you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this talk, enjoy this chat. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Let me give you a little history about myself, give you a tiny glimpse about who I am, my background, where I come from, and what kind of things I have done in this life so far. So prior to being a homemaker or a stay-at-home mom, for some of those who identify with that term, prior to being a full-time homemaker, I indulged in birth work as a doula, as a student midwife, as a peer breastfeeding counselor, as a you name it, childbirth educator, lactation consultant in training, you name it. I was in it, around it, indulging in it, surrounding myself by it, and immersing myself in it. So I decided to transition into being a full-time homemaker after realizing that living life on call, it was not in alignment with my family, and it was something that we needed to dial back on a lot. And I've always wanted to be a full-time homemaker. Since I was a child, I knew that it was going to be a mother, someone's mother, one child, a million children. I knew I was going to be a mom. I knew I was going to be home. I knew that this is where I wanted to be. I didn't understand why myself, and I'm sure so many other Black girls, Black women now, were taught that it's not okay, and it was something that was really frowned upon and deemed as work that was not vital, and work that wasn't important, and work that didn't have a place in our society for Black women. So I knew that I wanted to be there, and as I grew older, it was something that I ended up putting in the back of my mind but always stayed in my heart. And of course, you know, the path led me in so many different ways and directions. So after the universe showed me and revealed to me that balancing being outside of my home full-time on call for long durations of time, sometimes short durations of time, but whether it was short or long, being outside of the home and really attempting to manage my home and be outside of the home and mother and be a partner, it just was not in alignment. My family needed me, my tribes needed me, my boys needed me at home, and they needed me to be at home full time. So once I decided to make that shift, so much changed for me. My world literally crumbled. It was quite the transition. I'm not gonna go too deep into the transition. I'll save that video for another day for those of you who actually want to know what that journey was like. For me, I plan on sharing it, I promise. I have shared it in content form on my platform, Umi Speaks, and even on Black Women Homemake. For those of you who have seen it, for those of you who have not, you should definitely check it out. I plan on continuing to share with you guys. So without going too deep, the transition into being a full-time homemaker was an awakening for me. It was very much an awakening. I didn't have any source, any physical guides. I did not have anyone to go to and say, well, how do you do this whole homemaking thing? How do you switch to being home and not working outside of the home? What do you do? How do you do this? How do I make my bed? How do I get a schedule? What do I cook? I didn't have anyone to really physically thrive with me and mother me through that process of mothering myself and stepping into being a full-time homemaker, being a homemaker and embracing that aspect of my life. So I decided to mother myself, and I decided to take the initiative and educate myself and start to learn what it meant to be a homemaker. I actually looked up the term and did some history diving and came to an understanding that homemaker was the original term. Stay-at-home mom is a fairly recent term, but it's okay, of course, to utilize whichever term aligns with you. It's absolutely okay. Homemaker aligns more with me. So after doing research and really diving deep into what a homemaker was, what homemakers do, I stumbled across so many different homemakers. And I also was a part of a few stay-at-home mom groups, with Black stay-at-home mom groups with other women, which I actually got kicked out of for asking too many questions and wanting to facilitate conversations with women who are at home and wanting to know why there was such a negative stigma and so much guilt, so much fear, so much trauma around being home, and how could we take the next steps to finding a solution? How do we heal? How do we shift the stigma? I was kicked out of a group for wanting to have a healthy dialogue about that. So I was furious and I was hurt because I just didn't understand. I didn't understand why women were home and they were miserable and they didn't want to find a solution for it. And of course, you know, as with anything, sometimes you have to sit in that energy to be able to shake yourself out of, or even want to come out of it. And sometimes that's someone's calling to be here and to sit in energy, and whether we want to call it miserable or someone just living out their destiny or fulfilling their purpose here on earth is to have that kind of experience, then so be it. That's their experience. So it dawned on me that this was something that not a lot of women wanted to have a conversation about, and that also the women who were having a conversation about were responding from this place of trauma, were responding from this place that was very wounded and needed a lot of healing. So it felt right for me to start to express the things that I started to see, and of course my own healing journey and my process I started to slowly but surely share and unravel on my platform, Umi Speaks. And then I decided, why not just create another platform and show homemaking on that other platform, that there were Black women at home who were suffering, who were silent, and who weren't able to seek guidance or even want guidance. And that this was such an area that had such heavy energy and was also frowned upon by not only the women within it, but also the communities around us. No one really understood the Black communities around us. Not a lot of folks understand why we're doing this, why we are deciding to raise the next generation, why we are deciding to choose to care for our family and really eliminate ourselves from the day-to-day chaos that, if you ask me, in my opinion, is extremely unnecessary for women, especially women who are bearing children. I mean, women in general, but specifically focused on women who have or are pregnant, and women who have just given birth, or women who are still in the postpartum. I expressed that specifically focused on those women because there is this thing that we all have, and it's called our prefrontal cortex, and there is a handful of research out there on the net. It's a tiny spot in our brain that actually controls our focus, and when this part of our brain is deterred or even just like distracted, we are now back fully in this space. And I'm using this part of my brain to focus now on the camera. I'm using this part of my brain without getting too nerdy, but also knowing that it's important to understand the anatomy and physiology of our bodies, because when we do understand that, we understand why it's so significant for women to actually be home and be protected when we are bearing children, and when we are raising children, and of course when we're raising ourselves. Pregnancy, during birth especially, when we allow ourselves to move away from that part of our brain, allowing ourselves to enter a vortex, a portal, a spiritual dimension that we all have access to, but because the process of birth and postpartum is so disrupted and so disturbed, and most of the time unnecessarily intervened with, it disrupts that connection, because it's like trying to fall asleep, and once you start to hit REM, or once you even start to get into a deeper level of sleep, someone wakes you up. It's like that. So instead of allowing you to sink into your experience and really come out feeling refreshed and really surrender and let birth take over and let this experience take over and let your intuition, let your womb, let your ancestors guide you, it's someone else guiding you in front of your face that you're not paying it, that you have to like pay attention to. So it takes you outside of that space. So I say that to say that it's super important for us to allow ourselves to be in that space, because that's what's really guiding us. That's what's really setting the foundation for our style of parenting. It's setting the foundation for how deep we're allowing ourselves to connect with our spiritual ality and motherhood, and knowing that we belong here and that everything that we're doing is coming from that space. So being able to connect with our children and our family from this spiritual aspect of as well, no matter what type of belief you believe, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you are a Buddhist, a Hindu, whether you are Baptist, whether you're any type, with whichever walk of religion or faith walk that you come from. I strongly believe that it's the experience for all of us. It gives us the opportunity to dive in. So being home actually protects us because it allows us to sink into that space. But when we are home and we're surrounded by fear and we're surrounded by all of those other things, which is another video for another day, then it makes homemaking become hard. It makes homemaking becomes difficult. I say hard because hard is not, to me, hard is that. Hard is a surface. So it allows homemaking to become very difficult, and it feels like something that is unachievable and super complicated. And I'm not discrediting anyone from any point of where they are. So with all of the discovery that I was doing and the talk of mother myself, of my journey of being full-time at home and learning how to take care of things and get a routine going, how to honor my family's flow, how to honor my own flow, in the midst of starting to learn how to do all those things, I started to receive questions from others, and then I was curious and started to look it up online on Instagram and on social media. And if you type in the hashtag homemaker, literally all white women, it is flooded with white women, which is fine. For every 30 white women that you see, there's probably one black woman that comes up in the hashtag, and this black woman that you see may not look like she is black. So I know that Instagram has an algorithm flow and certain pictures come up first or whatever the case might be, but I think in the moment of seeing that, for me, a light bulb went off, and I said to myself, something has to change. We need to be able to type in homemaker and see ourselves and know that this is a space for us as well too. I decided to create Black Women Homemake with the intent of allowing it to be a space for all women to come, all women to connect, all women to network, all women to understand and see that Black women, we here too. We up in here and we belong here. And it's necessary to create those kind of spaces where people are understanding that, to normalize it, to start to show people that these things exist. We exist. We're home. We're not unicorns. We are unicorns. We're special. But it's not an apocalypse. We're not zombies. We are alive and we are well and we are home and we are with our families. And I want to see more Black women come out the closet. And I want to see more Black women, whether they're proud, whether they are scared, whether they are feeling brave, whatever they're feeling. I want them to come out the closet and rejoice and take pride in what you're doing and do it happily. Okay, you may not love washing the dishes, but how can we shift that? How can we shift the energy so that you can find the joys in washing the dishes? How can we shift that? Because when we shift that within you, you're shifting the energy within your whole household. That crying baby that you have that may be crying, and not because the baby necessarily needs something food-wise from you, but may need nutrition, and your energy may be the nutrition that the baby needs. Maybe your energy needs to be shifted in some type of way. So to really be able to help broaden the perspective and open the door and allow Black women to come and say, hey, I'm a Black woman and I'm a homemaker and I'm a proud homemaker, and be okay there. And also inviting other women into this space as well, and to be able to normalize that, because I mean, if we're normalizing it and if we are normalizing it within the Black community, it's only right for us to normalize it within the world and show the world that, hey, we're here. And there's really no reason to cut ourselves off from the world, because ultimately we are all here. We're all coexisting. We're all in this space, and there's so many different women of color from other different walks of shade, red, purple, blue, yellow, however they want to identify, in whichever ways they want to identify. There are all different shades of women who are home and may not consider themselves a Black woman, but they are home and they consider themselves a woman of color. So they may be home, and this is really the space for that. This is the space to connect. This is the space to network. This is the space for us to talk about what we're doing on a day-to-day, because, you know, although I don't believe that we are lonely, because we're never alone. Spirit, ancestors, those who have been here before us, crones, they're always with us. Our guides, they're always with us. We're never alone. You can never be alone in this world that's made up of energy. It's not possible. We're energy. There's no way you can possibly be alone. But being inside of a house, not necessarily all day, because for those of you who follow me, you know I'm not home all day, every single day. But hypothetically speaking, homemaker, being home and running the household, it can definitely be such a rare thing. We have people out there who are talking about their jobs all the time, you know, talking about what they did at work today, talking about, you know, what's going on in the break room today, talking about better ways that they can enhance their career, better ways that they can show up for work. But there are very few Black people who are talking about their lives at home, who are engaging at home, who you can check in with at home, because our spouses are outside of the home, getting the buckets, really making it happen and caring for us and caring for the home financially. So while we are home, we may not necessarily have the connection to the outside world. So it's really, Black Women Homemake is really that pillar to be able to connect with each other within our homes and also outside of the homes, and assist us in normalizing Black women being home, allowing women to come out of the closet and take their stance as proud homemakers, laugh, have so many laughs. You guys know this page is full of things that can make you laugh, but also because it takes the edge and the intensity off of the things that we feel like we have to do, but we get to do these things. And with cultivating the inner child and bringing that fun energy out, you really emanate that towards your children. You really emanate that in your household. You really get that feeling, and that's a part of homemaking. So homemaking is really the umbrella for life. It is a metaphor, the same way birth is a metaphor for life. Homemaking is as well too, because there's so much healing that needs to happen. There's so much other things that happens in the space of homemaking. It's more than making your bed. It's making your mind. It's shifting your mind. It's shifting your perspective. It's reclaiming who you are. It's allowing yourself to dance in your femininity. It's allowing yourself to dance and submerge in the softness of nurturing beings and nurturing yourself. So Black Women Homemake is really here to shed the light on Black women homemaking, and to network with all women, and to celebrate all women and celebrate Black women doing exactly what we are meant to do and what we have been chosen to do and blessed to do. So I hope this video gives you some insight on what Black Women Homemake is all about. I promise I'm going to be making many more videos. There's so many different things that I want to share and talk to you guys about, learn and grow with all of you from all walks of life, and this space is a space to do it. And I'm honored to have all of you here supporting, pouring into, connecting, dancing, and just really lifting each other up, queen homemakers in this village, because if we don't lift each other up, who will? you can find on my website www.umispeaks.com some free resources and some resources that actually are a few dollars to be able to assist you in your homemaking journey, that also assists me in my homemaking journey, and also it assists me in continuing to create and put out this content for you guys, and to keep this energy and cultivate this energy and keep this light lifted and hold up the community. So if you're looking for some free resources such as like my own routine, my tidy intentions, let yourself into my virtual world, go into my work with me area, see my grace foundation, how I gracefully allow myself to flow through the day, and then also you can get a sneak peek of my tidy intentions. And I promise that I have so much more coming for you guys. But so far you can enjoy what you see on the page, and feel free to always inbox me. And I am so grateful for the love notes that I have received from you guys, and just the tremendous amount of support that I have been receiving from each and every one of you, from all walks of life, from all walks of belief, from all different shades. I believe that this is a space that is transforming not only myself, but also so many other women out there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the notification so that you can see all things soulful, simple, and sacred. And of course, infused with homemaking. So you can find things all Black Women Homemake and Umi Speaks on here. And I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time.